Thank you to our sponsors for today's video, InfyPower, Eaton, and Ionna. InfyPower is the largest EV charger module provider with over 3 million power modules running reliably worldwide. Their latest G2 collection features ultra-high power density and efficiency for EV charging and energy storage. InfyPower, innovation for your power. Also, Eaton. Eaton is a one-stop shop for implementing reliable and innovative EV charging infrastructure at your site. Across all applications, Eaton's EV charging infrastructure, hardware, and software gives you the scalability, flexibility, and intelligence you need to charge today and scale up tomorrow. Learn more at eaton.com/EVCI. And Ionna, North America's premier charging network. With unmatched commitment to elevating the customer experience, Ionna is opening America's roads to all EVs, giving drivers the coverage they need, the reliability they deserve, and the amenities they crave.
Hello and welcome back to Out of Spec. This behind me is the Zeekr 007 GT, which I'm really excited about because I'm a huge fan of the Porsche Taycan Cross Turismo. No one's surprised by that. Also the Neo ET5 Touring. Basically anything that's a wagon and fun means a good car. And this is touted as the car that does everything. And it's so cheap. With an asterisk. We'll get to that in a minute. But today we're doing a full tour of the 007, specifically the GT variant, but we also have 007s here as well. We're here at this Zeekr playground type area, I guess, set up here near Hangzhou in China. So join me for a fun video because I don't even know what's going to happen, but we're going to do everything we can with the Zeekr 007 GT. So I have Jess behind the camera. And I guess if you want to pan around and show them where we are, this is like this huge Zeekr playground that they brought us out here to check out. They set up games, food, which is funny. Like I've seen different events where people have brought games, like companies have set up games where like, oh, people want to hang out and play games. No, everyone's here trying to cram in footage and content. So everyone's avoiding the games at all costs. And I've even borrowed a car that's supposed to shuttle people to the bathroom, but I'm like, hey, can I borrow this to film? So that's what we're doing right now. But I figured we'd start with a quick full tour. The 007's not new. It's been out for a bit now, but Zeekr as a whole is still a pretty new company. So we're hopefully going to be covering all their cars at some point. Just sadly not all today because we have only today and there's a lot of cars out here. But Kyle's already done some stuff with the Mix, the 7X. Of course, that has the golden battery and stuff. But today with the 007 GT, this also has the golden battery. So I guess we could start with some specs really quick because that's what everyone seems to care about. 75 kilowatt hour LFP, golden brick, golden battery, whatever you want to call it. That's the crazy fast charging battery that Kyle tested on the 7X in China a few months ago. 0 to 80 or 10 to 80 in 10 minutes and change. We actually measured just under 10 minutes in our test, and 0 to 100 was 22 minutes. And that was with the Chinese siesta that we call it, when the battery takes a rest at like 90% to recalibrate itself. So all that to say, insane charging on this thing. So that's one thing it does super well, charging. Again, the car that's touted to do everything, so I'm gonna assess everything. Charging's great. Range is probably pretty good. You also get the 100 kilowatt hour NMC battery, so not quite as crazy charging, but still pretty respectable. I think it's up to like 800 kilometers CLTC range, but that's also CLTC, so it's not really something we can necessarily trust usually. The way Chinese measure range, you just like slash off 25% of that, and maybe that's what you'll actually get. But you can have this, I believe, even the GT variant, a rear-wheel drive or an all-wheel drive. So you're looking at rear motor or dual motor, and that's up to 475 kilowatts, which is like 636 horsepower. Plenty of juice. Sure, it's no Taycan turbo. That would be next level, I guess. But so maybe if you're looking for supercar power, this is not the car to do everything. But for like really intense sports car power, and honestly that was supercar power a few years ago, you're still not going to be let down. So I believe it's a permanent magnet rear, asynchronous front induction motor, but I'll double check that. I'm just kind of learning everything as I'm going here. But yeah, stylistically, I think the car is sick. I'm such a Wagon fan. I guess it's kind of a wagon. Wagons are being like smudged a little bit with the definition because the roof, instead of going like a full cut off at 90 degrees like old traditional wagons. They're now getting more and more sleek, but still not as smooth as the sedan form. So they have what they call this floating roof concept. That's also what the 007 has, where you have this black line separating the paint from up here and down here, which gives the illusion of the roof being floating. You also have a bit of a spoiler situation here, a bit of a lip spoiler here, Zeekr branding on the back. The license plate says 007 GT, yours would say something more legal, but also 007 GT right here, and as with all Chinese cars, a Chinese translation here. Otherwise, looks like kind of smoked out taillights, a bit of a light bar situation coming around the back, not all the way across, it is cut up by this camera here, another camera down there. There are a lot of cameras on this car. I think 12 cameras perhaps. 30 total sensors, 12 cameras, 12 ultrasonic sensors, a LiDAR, and 5mm wave radars. So presumably good ADAS. This is the charging port. It is powered. You of course see the GBT and the AC charging right there. That's nice. And I'm guessing this is power close. Okay, that's easy. And not that it matters, but it's the correct location for Tesla V3 superchargers. People always seem to mention that. You also have the roof rails here, which I think is a nice touch. This would look pretty cool with a roof rack, maybe a box on top. Not that you would even need that for anything. It would cut your efficiency, but it would look better. So I'm okay with that. Maybe even some skis, snowboard, if you're into that kind of thing. Up top, a giant glass roof. They're touting largest in the industry. I'm not actually sure if that's true, but that's what their marketing says. 1.69 meters squared, and it is silver plated or whatever that method is to make the glass really reflective to light and heat. You also have a giant, well, you have a light bar here that kind of goes almost all the way across, but not quite because of the front camera, similar to the back. The Zeekr logo right here, but also this light bar. I think this is a total of 90 inches. It is cut up here, so I don't know if that's including the 90 inches, but it's like 1,411 individual LEDs, I think, which can reach a brightness of like 10,000 nits, maybe it's 15,000 nits, and a refresh rate of 30 hertz, 30 FPS, which is really, really impressive for a light bar. You can trigger this to set up something, to make it spell something, to put images on it. They have a lot of fun marketing materials showing what this bar can be used for. It'd be interesting to see if you could say like, thank you, or get out of my way, maybe mirrored so someone could see that in the rearview mirror. I think that'd be funny, but I don't know what the legality is of how much you can do with that while driving, but the rules here in China do of course vary compared to what we see in the US. Guessing radar down here, active cooling vents right here to help with all the cooling, and yeah, you can see the front camera, like I said, another camera up there, another camera, LiDAR sensor, a whole suite of stuff. It's really pretty cool. The interesting design note on this, I think, is the belt line of just black here, and then it gets cut off right here by the door. So it just kind of extends through here, but then you have these fenders as paint color, and then it continues as black here where there's a camera thing. It's kind of weird. Like this on Taycan is where you would see the charging port, but right here it's just a black panel. Not really sure why. The mirrors are also floating on a black little protruding thing with more cameras. Pretty interesting. But yeah, unlike the Taycan Cross Turismo, you don't see this wagon with the like plastic cladding, which I like. This is nice and sleek, and I think unless you want to like really take this off-road, why have that? So I'd actually probably opt for the Sport Turismo if I was going Taycan. But today we're focused completely on Zeekr. Looking at these wheels, I'm sure there are a few options, but what I'm seeing right here, out here, is this really interesting extreme multi-spoke design with a bit of a machine finish on the edge here. I like the center caps quite a bit. They do hide the lug nuts. Big fat brakes, not sure who makes those. And Michelin Pilot Sport EV tires is what it looks like is on this. No other branding other than that. 255/40, they're 20-inch wheels on the front. Let's see what the rear is. 255/40, 20. So this is a square setup. I actually kind of like that. Hot take. A lot of cars, performance cars especially, have a fatter rear wheel and tire, but I like the square setup. Should make handling fairly interesting, fairly easy, and that's what we're hopefully going to look at later. If I can figure out how to open the trunk, the boot, to press and hold? Yeah, press and hold. let's see what's in here. So back here, being a wagon, you do have a bit more usable space. I'm 6 foot, I can stand under this open area, and also sculpts in a little bit, which is nice. And yeah, I think it's about 645 liters here, with the rear seats folded down, an impressive 1,737 liters. A little bit of underfloor, possibly. Yes, actually a decent amount of underfloor storage. And optionally, you can put in a 10-liter refrigerator right down here. That would be sweet. I'd probably opt for that, even though underfloor storage is kind of nice too. You do have a 220 volts, so 2.2 kilowatt AC outlet right here. That's super nifty. Plus this cigarette lighter port situation. And it looks like a speaker for, yeah, probably the subwoofer right there. Looking forward to trying out this sound system. We'll get to that in a minute, but closing this up, it is also power closed, so that's nice. Yeah, seems like plenty of space. Easily car campable, which is a metric I do look at when I review cars for some reason. Colton doesn't agree with me. So this is brand new. This is actually launching like now in China. And at the price of starting, I think 200,000 yuan, and up to 262,000, which translated to USD, it's about 27 grand, 28 grand, up to like 36 grand. Now, this car for 36 grand, that's crazy. But you can't really put USD to this because A, we don't get it in the US, and we probably never will. But even if we did, there'd be a crazy tariff. You know, tariffs are all the talk now, which means it would definitely not enter the US at that price. But it's always interesting to convert the Chinese currency to the US and be like, oh man, that would be nice. This will be coming to Europe, but not as a 007 GT. It'll just be called the 7 GT. I'm not really sure why, unless there's too much 007 stuff over there with James Bond, so maybe that's why they're cutting off the zeros. All right, so getting in, looks like you do just press the door handles and they do pop out, which is pretty cool. We grabbed a different one just to show a different interior color, because this one is interesting. This one is red. So the seats, you can see perforated leather, feels really nice. You also have kind of suede inserts all around the edge, but then leather once again. So it's like a 3-piece seat in some ways. But yeah, this is like a nice place to be. Jess, what's your impression? You can slide in here. How does it feel?
It's good. I have to say the leather, something that I think I look for in like nicer leathers when you get in, it like feels cool. Mm-hmm. It's a cloudy day. It's warm, but it's cloudy, and this car feels hot. Like it is hot in here.
Yeah.
And so I just wonder if this is a real leather or...
No, I think it's faux leather.
Yeah.
That's vegan leather is what they call it.
Yeah.
That's all the rage nowadays. But I think it does look pretty nice, and it's really interesting seeing like the speakers and how they just kind of like emanate throughout the leather. It's just a bunch of perforations that kind of just eventually fade out, which is really interesting. But then you have what feel like metal speaker grills up there. You also have, it's really funny, it looks just like the Bowers & Wilkins thing, but it says Zeekr sound. So it's like the Nautilus looking thing on the top. They wouldn't call it Nautilus because it's probably trademarked by Bowers & Wilkins. But other than that, I mean, here's the steering wheel, kind of a flattened top and bottom. You have the little ring at the top showing you what's center, which is nice. And yeah, driver's display seems pretty nice, pretty easy to see. Huge heads-up display. It's effectively, apparently, 35 inches with perceptive up to like 15,000 nits brightness, something like that. I mean, that's kind of hard to gauge as a driver, but it should have augmented reality as far as I can tell. We'll see if that is available on the street driving itself. Over here, super nice display. This is like 15 inches and change, 2.5K OLED, and as per usual, well, I'm not really sure how to use everything, but like it is extremely snappy. Like Snapdragon 8295 snappy, which is exactly what's in this thing. I wish some more US cars would disclose what chips they're using, but maybe they don't because a lot of the chips are probably pretty terrible. This actually feels nice. Let's see if I can do my cooled seat. Here we go. Cooled seat. Can you do heated at the same time? No, I don't think so. So that's gonna feel nice. And I think there's massage capabilities as well.
Yeah.
That's what this is. Do you know?
Split into sections, so you have a full back, half back, and the waist.
Okay, nice. So yeah, heated cooling massage seats, I believe standard. And then the rear, I don't know if it says rear seats have any functionality. Maybe the rear are just statically back there. I don't see any buttons back there either for massage, so
No.
or heat or cool or anything. So just the front, I guess. Looks like actively cooled wireless chargers, maybe up to 50 watts like we see with some other cars. Not sure on that metric, but fit and finish, everything feels really pretty nice, really sturdy. Well, I guess my door wasn't fully closed, but now it is. So electronic door latches there, nice solid door thunk, really gorgeous window switches, which are reversed for some reason. So up is down, down is up. I think that's kind of silly. Really nice feeling stocks. Decent turn signal noise.
Sounds way better than the Jeep.
Sounds way better than we've had a Jeep Avenger in Italy for the past week and a half.
It's like a drum and bass turn signal.
It's the worst
It's the
turn
worst.
signal I've ever heard.
Especially listening to music, it like throws you off.
Yeah, oh my god, that's terrible. This actually seems really nice. So all the steering wheel functions, oh, this is like adjusting temperature. Interesting. I wonder if that determines like what you're actually messing with. We can also pull up the cameras here. Well, I guess they were already pulled up, but now I can press that again, pull them up. Actually looks like pretty nice cameras. What do you think? Oh, I guess close your door. Let's see if we can see the full 360. Wow, yeah. So it looks like pretty quality system. Oh my gosh, it's so snappy. And you can see like people standing over there. The Zeekr 001 looking menacing behind us. That's hilarious.
It's like the Cybertruck and the Miata.
Yeah. But it's so cool you can see into your car and see that the interior is even the right color in here. That is super cool.
I'm a little bummed I can't see myself, but that's okay.
That would be maybe creepy though too. I don't know. What else can we tell from the software? I mean, they have their own mapping system, which presumably does all sorts of route planning, preconditioning. That shows the spider web of where you can reach if you are fully charged, or I guess charged to this current level. So we see we are at 85%, which it claims is 443 kilometers. So I'm assuming this is the smaller battery than the 75 kilowatt hour LFP, which means I can just sit fully charged and be totally happy. We also have a button here showing a bunch of other things in the software, just kind of a quick menu of all sorts of icons. You can say hello, which I think is what the actual front light bar thing will do, which is fun. Zeekr automatic driving, Zeekr AI. Everyone's leaning into AI like pretty heavily nowadays. Looks like it has DVR, like security system capabilities, presumably account info. So it seems like a pretty nice, natural, good UI. Even the music setup in here is really nice. This is equipped with a Dolby Atmos system, so 7.1.4, which is pretty much the standard for Dolby Atmos as far as mixing goes. 1900 watts through 21 speakers, so really pretty fantastic.
Wow. I mean, that's amazing. Oh, wow.
Okay, no lack of bass. We'll turn that down for copyright. But what's cool is this dial just kind of has a dynamic adjustment. So like we had music pulled up, so it became audio. Without the music, it was temperature. I like that. Wow, look at this. That is so cool. So I guess you can optimize the Dolby Atmos for different sections of the car. Is any of these equalizer?
You know, this gets into a technical character area that I don't quite understand.
Well, pretty interesting. So slightly limited capability from our end of the software, but cool to see nonetheless. These feel very nice. Let me pause the music. But then the only complaint with the volume knob is it takes a lot of scrolls to get anywhere because you can only access a tiny bit of it. So, otherwise trunk control and probably a favorites button, defrost, locking doors, and a bunch of little storage storage areas, 60 watt USB-C, love the labeling on the USB ports. That's really nice. And yeah, honestly, I really like this interior. How's the seat comfort?
Oh, it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
I could road trip this thing.
Yeah, it's cooled down really quickly, even with the AC on low, so.
Yeah, nice. Let's jump in the back really quick before we head out to driving. Okay, jumping into the back. I am, of course, sitting behind myself as usual. And oh my gosh, I have so much room. Love the panoramic glass roof. Funny to see the reflection to the front because of the silver plating, presumably. Seems very tinted, but like you said, it is a sunny day.
It's a little trippy.
Sorry, cloudy day. But yeah, it's a little trippy right now because we can barely see the trees through the roof. Like what you're seeing on the phone is, on the camera, is exactly what we're seeing. This is magnetic link. Wonder if that's like a magnetic accessory type thing. Like you can just like mount an iPad to that or something. Or I guess a Huawei tablet, whatever you would have here. More USB ports here, adjustable air vents, no rear screen, which is kind of a letdown, kind of a bummer, but honestly, maybe not a big deal. But I expected that in a car like this, I suppose. You can see, of course, the upper audio channels, the nice speaker grills here in the door, the same type of stuff throughout these doors as well. So feels nice, looks nice. Is nice. Great headroom back there for you, for me, like you would see in any sort of wagon situation. So I think we're pretty much, wow, this actually feels super nice, like nicer than most cars that I've experienced with this.
Yeah.
And even the ability to recline our back seat. So this is actually reclined, I believe. Oh, it's power reclining.
Yeah.
So even in the full back position, I had enough headroom, but also in the front, plenty of headroom. So that's actually really nice. I would take that over a rear screen any day. So checking out the, well, first of all, a different interior color. How do you like this one?
I don't like the black and the white.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't really like the light and the dark contrast seats. I don't
Yeah.
think it like helps make the interior feel bigger.
Yeah, I really like the light though. Like I wish it was just all
I
white.
wish it was all light, yeah.
But pretty cool to see the contrast. But adjusting the vents, it is actually very similar to Tesla and Rivian, where it is just finger on the screen, but yours are actually physical back there,
Yep.
which is kind of nice. Also, you have pet mode, balloon animal mode, is how they call it.
So that your balloon animals don't overheat and explode.
Yeah, so it's cool to see pet mode included, which is a feature that's like kind of contested. As a pet owner, how do you feel about pet mode?
I would love it. I mean, as long as they can prove like consistent safety between like the phone monitoring and what's going on in the car.
Right.
I think it's great.
Yeah. I think that's a very cute balloon animal, but I do think a lot of cars have subpar apps, which means I wouldn't trust it so much, but
Yeah.
maybe Zeekr has a really good app. Not really sure, but I just really like using this software. It's very snappy, very easy.
That's car wash mode on the very right.
Oh, car
And
wash
then
mode.
camping mode, and then animal mode, and then it's like health
Oh,
mode. Maybe it's a relaxation mode.
relaxation. And finally, we can take a look at the key. I mean, it is in a little case thing, but it seems to be a square key, which I really like. And just a few buttons on it. I actually really like this little, whatever you call it, key case. Seems actually pretty useful.
So let me explain what's actually happening here, or at least try to. Zeekr is hosting an event, but it's chaotic and condensed. No one really seems to know what was going on or what was happening when, so we ended up having very little time to actually spend with the cars. I would have loved to review the entire Zeekr lineup, but that would have taken at least a week at the kind of confusing pace that was set up. So with this, I got one quick lap of the short autocross course with the 007 GT.
Let's go. So what mode is this? Sport mode? Okay, nice. And what does that do exactly? Just change the motor response?
I think the horsepower will be different.
Yeah. Max throttle. And send. Struggle with traction. And brake. Great brake. Super, super confidence inspiring. But the turning is definitely an interestingly slower ratio. Like I basically can't do 9 and 3 the entire time, unless I do less tight turns. It definitely feels like some body roll, but it's still air suspension sport mode. Oh, he hit some cones. Yeah, the FR in front of us really messed up the track a little bit. Oh well. Okay. Let's try a bit of a slalom action here. So it doesn't feel like as much body roll as I see from the outside, which is interesting. Nice short autocross. So that was very fast, very short, well, very heavy doors. Yeah, always interesting to see the autocrosses these events set up, because you can't really test very much with the car. So hopefully on the open road course we can actually try a few more things. But what I gleaned is the car feels a bit heavy, which I think it is, but it's got enough power, but it still feels like it could use more power on a course like this. Because it is so small, you don't really have much momentum to work that power up to get actual speed. But I guess speed wasn't the point of this course, so I'm sure it'd be really fun on a racetrack, but an autocross course, it's not really the car for it. The steering ratio feels a bit too slow.
Yeah, that was clearly not enough time to really understand the dynamics. They did let me get my Chinese driving permit, which is cool, so I can drive on public roads. So I thought, cool, maybe I'll go test this car much more further on public roads, like we would most first drive events. But as it turns out, we were limited to pretty much 15 to 20 miles an hour in a park area almost the entire time, which was supposed to be 10 minutes. Which is not enough time to test a car. But I convinced them to let me go a little bit longer with the 007 GT so I could at least try the ADAS and just get a better feel of the on-road comfort.
Okay, we've been driven out to a remote location next to a failed suspension Range Rover, nice, and Bumblebee Transformer. All right, well, driving on Chinese public roads for the first time. Kyle's not the only one that can get a temporary driving license, and that was somewhat of a fiasco, but I think they figured it out for us. I just had to give up my passport, my license, and hope for the best. But this thing drives really, really nice. So creep is turned on. I'm not sure if it has one. Does this have one pedal driving? Or, oh, one pedal. Yeah, there we go, okay.
So do you like this?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Now we have one pedal driving turned on. But it's a lot of information to take in. I mean, I have the augmented reality heads-up display, but also the driver's display, and it's all showing everything around me, which is really kind of cool. So it's pretty slow roads, slow speed limits, but NVH seems really, really, really solid. It's super quiet. It's funny, I have the instructions, driving instructions coming kind of in my headrest speakers, which I think is kind of a nice feature. But it seems like the suspension dampening is what I'm trying to grasp, and I'm pretty impressed. It is a double wishbone front suspension, multi-link rear, 5-link I think, and has air suspension, twin chamber air suspension. Not sure if ride height is adjustable, but probably not much if you even can. But all of that together equals really impressive ride comfort, especially over even the big bumps like this, but also the small undulations. It seems to really settle itself nicely. It's a weird combo of assessing the car while also looking at the beautiful surroundings while also trying to learn Chinese road mannerisms. And of course we're doing really slow speeds, but the road noise is really not bad, tire noise not bad, and it's really interesting how this seems to be tied into the traffic lights. So you have a timer on how long you have till the light turns red, which is really cool. Not much I can evaluate at about 15 to 20 miles an hour, but I do have my massage turned on now, and it's actually really, really nice. It's intense and deeper than a lot of other cars that have massage seats where that feel more of just like things slightly pushing on you. This actually feels like pressure points are being pressed that need to be pressed because I'm stressed. Put that in a wrap. I can also test small nuanced things like off-pedal regen, which is nice and light in this condition. Not sure what all you can adjust with that, but we have just a few minutes with the car, so a little hard to test a lot of the things. At some point, I feel like Kyle is gonna have to come out here. Maybe all of us can do like some road trips with some Zeekrs to really put them through the paces, because that would be a lot of fun. And even Zeekr on track would be a lot of fun. Not sure if this is the track spec. You know, the 001 FR exists, which would be a bit more tuned for track. But as a car that does most everything, I'm pretty impressed so far. Oh, there's a Model Y Juniper with the Tesla badge on the front. That's how you know we're in China. All right, well, we got ADAS. Yeah, ADAS is working. So, well, at least it's lane centering. I'm not really sure. but it's also slowing down for the red light. And it's acknowledging it on the screen, so it seems to be good. This is crazy that we still have cars in the USA that don't even do lane centering without highways. And even cars that won't do lane centering on the highways. Maybe if I do, oh yeah, there we go. So I had to tell it, but then it did the actual lane change.
Interesting that the screen doesn't really like acknowledge that you are in ADAS mode, or
Well, it does with the blue line on my screen.
with on your screen.
Yeah, but this
not
one,
for us,
this one doesn't change it. But yeah, it's interesting having the driver display and the heads-up display basically showing the same information. So it's like totally redundant. Yeah, so now it's slowing down to stop. Oh, and it just turned the turn signal on for me. I'm gonna be really curious to see what it does here. The quality of the displays are all really, really fantastic. But what's interesting is this one's OLED, the heads-up display is OLED, the driver display is not OLED, it looks to be LCD, but that's the one that I would want to be OLED because it's pretty much all blacks, or in this case, because LCD, it's like almost black, but not quite. But that's being super nitpicky because it's actually really, for an LCD, it's actually really high quality. But this one, I don't feel like it needs to be, but hey, super crisp contrast and color, brightness is great. Everything seems to be really nice with the technology. And even the turn signal stalks themselves feel super nice. There the car is going, doing it all by itself. This is really good.
I also like that the car like verbally tells you like, heads up, the light's about to change.
Oh yeah?
Versus, you know, with the Tesla you get like a ding, but this actually says, you know, like, pay attention.
Yeah.
It's gonna change soon.
Yeah, there's a lot of verbal feedback, which I don't understand because I don't speak the language, but it's actually probably super useful. But it's crazy that, like, at least compared, you know, with the money converted to USD, this is cheaper than a Model 3, but has so many more things. I love the Model 3. I think it's fantastic, but, like, it is nice to have a heads-up display. It is nice to have a driver's display. Not maybe necessary, but it is nice. Having headrest speakers, Tesla doesn't do that. This also has the phenomenal sound system, but it's really a relaxing drive overall. I mean, obviously, again, we're doing low speed stuff, but even then, I'm just glad we can use ADAS on low speeds because that's not the case with a lot of other cars, especially in America. So it is following its own instructions here. Because I was wondering if it was doing the actual route following, and it seems like it is. And I'm just obsessed with these countdowns on the stoplights, like how it's all in sync with each other. Presumably the car is just in sync with the city system that does all these.
And it doesn't say the numbers on the red light up there, but we are getting the numbers on the screen down here.
Yeah, but I'm also getting them in the heads-up display, which you can't really see. The heads-up display has a lot of information. It has this screen basically, but also part of this screen in a way, like a simplified version of this screen where it shows the actual red light and stuff. Here the car is confused.
So yeah, it took you into the left lane.
It did left lane, and then it did right lane, and now it's doing far right lane. It's going very cautiously, but also not like the cautious like FSD used to do in parking lots when it was like super jerky with the wheel. The wheel movements have been very, very smooth throughout using ADAS. So it automatically upped the speed limit to the correct speed limit as well, which is 60 kph here. So we finally have a little bit more speed to work with. And very smooth, gradual slowdowns. We'll just know we finally hit the day when there's cars that are using ADAS systems that will actually honk for you. There's a Tesla store. And sure, Tesla has FSD, which is a really great system, but actually not here in China yet. For those who don't know, that hasn't been authorized, I guess. And they're working on that, supposedly, but I'd be curious to see if it actually comes to fruition. I do think they're kind of batting heads a little bit. But I really like the route guidance and how that looks on the screen. I mean, you can see like right here, it's happy if you're driving in either lane, but up here it shrinks down to one lane, suggesting you get over at that point. And presumably if the car had been in that lane using its own ADAS system, that's when it would also try to merge over. So it kind of is a visual representation of what the car thinks it should do, and so you know what the car thinks it should do. So I'm gonna take over there. It was kind of trying to get into the intersection, and now I want to go. Relatively slower streets, through a park, through city stuff, intersections, both directions turning, some traffic, pedestrians. Nice little test. Now we're back to bumpy roads, which of course is helpful with gauging the suspension, and I am definitely really pretty thrilled with how the suspension feels. You definitely feel the weight of the car. I mean, it is like 5,500 pounds, something like that, something in that ballpark. But it doesn't feel too crazy heavy. But there we go, nice little walk in the park, or I guess drive in the park. But at these speeds, almost walking. All right, so that's been it. A brief look at the Zeekr 007 GT, which is brand new and interesting and kind of awesome, and apparently is trying to be the ultimate car for everything. I don't think it's quite the ultimate car for everything, although one is like zipping around over there in the track, so it is like pretty capable, but it's not like ultra like Zeekr 001 FR capability. It's not truly Taycan level, but I'm really intrigued by it, and I think it covers most people's needs super well. I'm always a fan of a good shooting brake. So let us know what you think of the Zeekr 007 GT. It is a car on the newer-ish platform, I think PMA2 Plus. It's hard to remember all these platforms. And that's a derivative of the SEA platform, which is a whole other platform, all under the Geely group. Either way, it's fine. I like it a lot, but I actually prefer the design of the Zeekr 001. So it's nice to have them kind of side by side. There's a side profile of the 001 right there, as another GT zips on by. So I don't think you can really go wrong. Maybe try them both, see what you think. If you're in the market, but also in China, or one of the markets that gets these cars. Mexico gets the 001, and they might get the 007 too, I'm not really sure, but that's dangerously close to the US, so I'd love to see them in the US, but it seems like that just may never happen. Curious what you guys think of the Chinese cars situation. A lot more coverage to come, way too much coverage to come. We need to like spend months here to really understand everything, but hey, it's been fun while we're here. Thanks for watching, and thanks Zeekr for having us.